Hello everyone. I wanted to show you how I've been farming Element for the past day. I put together this team for boss fights and I run this by myself. It's just 6 Megatheriums with capped saddles, and these are their stats. And you definitely do need pretty good stats to do this, I would think, and I think that's why most people haven't been doing it, because on official 1x, Megatheriums are just getting decent, and you can probably buy these on most trade websites now, or on Discords and Facebook. And then I use a Daedon with a capped saddle with 100,000 food. You need like at least 50,000, but 100,000 is not hard to get to, and it's very safe. And then just a basic Yudi with a basic saddle is all you really need. So also, actually one more thing. I did do the Gigantoraptor bond with these Megatheriums, where it gives them the 10% damage resistance and the 5% damage increase. And to get that to proc, I just ran a Gamma Broodmother and had the Megatheriums kill the Broodmother and all the little spiders. And then you just have to throw out the Mother Gigantoraptor right here. And I don't know if it'll do it again because I already threw her out. Oh, you can see she got 23 stacks on her buff. It seems to like save the kills from the Megatherium and then give it to her. It's really weird. So this isn't max buff, so I don't know if they'll have the damage anymore. I might have just ruined it. No, they still have it. So it is very weird how it does that. And then you can just cryo her, and you don't have to take her into the boss fight, and all the Megatheriums will keep the buff. And then you can just go in with even stronger Megatheriums. This is not necessary, but it is a nice little thing. I don't think I would recommend doing it, honestly. It is a major pain to bond all the Megatheriums with the mother. It's like a gigantic few-hour grind just to do like 6 Megatheriums. God forbid they're like a high level. Mine were like level 160 with just the health and the melee. So the other thing you're going to need to do is go to the modify, order, and tame groups, and then add class to a group. And then I already have them added to 10 right here. So this will add all the Megatheriums to this tame group, where you go up to your tracking tab and then go to dino groups, go down to 10, and you can see the Megatheriums are there in the bottom right. And then you just set that as your active group. So now anytime you whistle, it will only whistle the Megatheriums, and you have to do this because you have to whistle different commands and make them like go different places. And I'll show you that later. And then make sure that the Yudi and the Daedon are on passive, and they will stay on passive. And you can only whistle them or tell them to do anything with like a single whistle like this. They won't listen to like all commands like that. So we'll go ahead and get this started. Now I do use my crafter, so this is much better ran with 2 people, but you can do this solo. But the overall method of farming the element is better done with 2 people anyway, because you have to heal up the Megatheriums and get meat in the Daedon. So having someone to farm meat is very important, like when the boss fight is over. Okay, so I have the Daedon and Yudi here on purpose. And, okay, and I'm on the back side of the fight right now. Whoop. I can't seem to get on the Yudi. Yeah. Alright, well that's great. So my crafter was messed up and the Yudi's gonna die here, I think. See if I can get it to follow me. There we go. Alright, well now it's a solo boss fight, so even better. The first thing you want to do is buff right away. But yeah, I was just going to have my crafter get on the Yudi and run over and buff, and then I can just ride the Daedon. And it's much more chill that way. I just reach over and touch my controller to hit the Yudi buff. Oh, I don't want him following me anymore. But I have the Megatheriums on neutral already, and you just want to make sure they're all going around and getting the bug buff. And it's kind of hard to tell if they all have it, but you just want to make sure that they're all kind of like spread out and not stuck anywhere, and making sure they're swinging. So I'm just have to be very careful to make sure that I UD buff every 20 seconds, so the max buff stays up. And honestly, the Megatheriums are doing pretty decent damage, so I'm not too worried. And then you can even take your tech binoculars and check the Megatherium health to see how they're doing. And they all seem pretty good. And I gotta go back and buff. It's a lot to keep track of when you're solo, so again, it's not the best idea to run this solo, but it is possible, as you'll see here. And if the broodmother doesn't turn around ever and give these, so the spiders spawn out of her butt, and if she doesn't turn around, the Megatheriums on her front side will possibly lose the bug buff that makes them so strong. So you're gonna have to whistle follow, or like send the Megatheriums into like a different attack pattern. I usually just like whistle them to her backside if that happens, because she hasn't turned around in a while, but it looks like he still has the bug buff. With cap saddles and mate boost and the UD buff, they only take about 200 damage for her like melee attack when they have the bug buff. If they don't have the bug buff, they'll take like 800, so you can kind of track if they have it like that. If you can't see the smoke on their face, like that red smoke that shows that they have it. Right now everyone looks good. He's losing a bit of health. I haven't healed in a while, but he just took 200 damage. So that's not too worrisome yet. Alright, she flipped around, so make sure these guys have the bug buff. Yeah. Having to deal with this UD all the time is pretty annoying. But also what I was trying to say when the boss fight started was that you definitely want to figure out like where you have to line up on the ob or transmitter or wherever you're running the boss fight from to make sure that the UD and the Daedon spawn on this backside here, because the broodmother, she spawns way over there. And on alpha, she will sprint her ass over so fast. It's, like, not even funny. I don't know what happened to my crafter and why I couldn't get on the UD, but luckily I got on the Daedon, so all was fine. But yeah, you just want to get on the Daedon and the UD and just sprint away as fast as possible and get the buff up and have the Megatheriums attack on neutral. This was honestly a very, very quick fight. I'm actually really surprised with how this went. I'm not even worried about the UD buff. Usually, if the Megatheriums are just like running in a circle and like attacking the spiders more, I'll whistle attack target on the broodmother, but that will almost always ensure that she gets like locked down and some of the Megatheriums lose the bug buff. But I just had them on neutral there, and they won in like 5 minutes, so that's pretty good. And again, like I said, if some of the Megatheriums aren't getting the bug buff, I'll whistle them like over to the back side of her, and then put them back on neutral, and they'll get the bug buff eventually. So I only used like half the food. Oh no, I used most of the food here. But either way, just use all the food, because if you're going to farm element, you got to heal all these Megatheriums to run the fight again. So after the fight's over, you just go and get all the raw meat off the Megatheriums. Like this, and I drop their bags so they don't have too many berries the next time that we go into the fight. And I started doing this with like 20,000 health on the Megatheriums and 900 melee on all of them. And I think I'm going to stop here at 24,000 and then just continue to level melee after that. Then I think I still have a little bit more time. Oh, I forgot my crafter's bag. It's just armor though. It's right here. Oh, there was some empty cryopods. Yeah, with the rest of the time, I'm just going to heal. And then after the boss fight, I don't think I have artifacts to show you, but there is an 8-minute cooldown on the boss. Yeah, I don't have the artifacts to do it. But there's an 8-minute cooldown before you can start any of the alpha or gamma or beta broodmother fights again. So in that time, you have time to set back up your UD and your Daeodon so they're on the backside of that boss fight, and then put in all the raw meat into the cooker because cooked meat gives significantly more food than raw. I think raw gives the Daeodon like 10 food and cooked gives 25. So set up a bunch of grills. I just slapped these down because I didn't really have a design and I was just running this yesterday. And then one person sets up and heals on the Megatheriums, and then the other person goes on a very quick meat run and then fills the grills. And if you do that, you can run alpha broods on cooldown and farm tons of element. Okay, so that boss fight went kind of shaky, and that video might have been a little rough, so if you have any questions, please ask in the comments down below. I am going to use it because that does prove that I can do this solo, so I can throw that in the title, and that will be pretty nice. And one thing that I forgot to say, let me find the Daeodon. Okay, I got the Daeodon, and I had some meat from yesterday's boss fights. And this is a very known trick. Most people are going to know what I'm going to say right now. But you can feed the Daeodon very quickly if you go out of render. There's no one else in this base right now, as far as I'm aware. So I'm just going to go out of render. And then I'm going to go back to the base. And the Daeodon has ate all the food until it's max. And then I still have all this food left over that it did not need to eat. Also, I did do that boss fight solo, but if you can, you should always do boss fights with someone, because if you lag out, I'm pretty sure that the boss fight just ends, but even if it doesn't, you have a high likelihood of just getting killed by the boss while you're sleeping on the floor in the boss arena, and then if you die, the boss definitely ends. So you definitely always want to go in with at least one other person, and just to make sure that that doesn't happen. The risk reward of doing a solo boss fight versus just waiting for someone to go with you is just not there. It's not a good idea. Unless you are just a solo player, then it just is what it is then. Hopefully you don't get arced. Looking for the love.
You've accomplished what few have. You've ascended.